Blizzard fans, welcome back to another episode of the Cold Front Podcast as the 2026 IFL season has officially come to an end. Joey Bonadonna alongside BJ, Steffen. BJ, obviously, number one, we're not in the studio, but number two, we don't have the big trophy we thought we were going to have in the middle of us for this week. But when all comes said and done, the Green Bay Blizzard had just came off of a phenomenal 2026 season that just falls one game short against Arizona. Your thoughts on the game? Obviously, it felt like a back and forth one for about 50 minutes, roundabout there, but it was just kind of Arizona established their will late in that game.
Yeah, and honestly, I could probably talk about the game for like 2 hours about every little thing. I'll try to keep it short. We just didn't play our best football. This is what it really came down to. We made mistakes late in the game. We had that PAT. I know a lot of people were calling that the turning point of the game. I actually think it was it was either the drive before that or a couple drives before that, where we stalled out off of two incomplete passes. You can argue the calls or no calls on those plays, but we stalled out there. Arizona was able to go up 10, and I think at that point it was just kind of like our guys were kind of getting their own heads. We saw a little more chirping, a little more back and forth pushing, and it's kind of like, okay, this is going to devolve quickly. And we saw some of the same mistakes we had last year. I think time management at the end of the first half was a big one. Not able to double up like we have a lot of games this season. That's kind of been our specialty, is being able to double up, and not being able to there, as well as, we only had one stop the entire game. In two championships, we've had one defensive stop. So stuff that needs to be worked on for the future when we make it back.
Yeah, and you mentioned the one defensive stop. It came pretty early. The first drive of the game, it was a deuce. It was a 4 and out, and the Green Bay, it really all three facets of the game for the first 5 minutes of the game looked like it was unstoppable. Unfortunately, it is a 60-minute affair. 5 minutes will not win you a football game. And, Arizona clicked for them. It was really back and forth. And as you mentioned, Green Bay had their opportunity to have an advantage. And you look up at that scoreboard, and I think you're hoping, as long as Green Bay has a lead at halftime, you'd feel pretty good. Unfortunately, that was not the case. It was tied. Then it was like, okay, it's a brand new game. Basically, it's going to start over the same it was. Arizona gets to kick off. They're going to have that extra opportunity, likely to attempt a deuce. And Green Bay had that four straight incomplete passes. You mentioned the latter two. Again, if you were there, if you were in support of Green Bay, you had certain feelings about it, but ultimately there were other things in, passing 4 straight plays. There's the other side of that. You get away from the run game. I think there's a lot that you can point out in that second half that the Green Bay had their opportunities, but whether it is, the fact that it's a neutral site game and Arizona showed out. Of course they were going to with, the short drive south on I-10, whether it was that, whether it is whatever else is at play. Green Bay ultimately had plays to be made. They had their opportunities and they just fell short. I think that's ultimately the turning point here is you have those incomplete passes. You have the block point after that is essentially a 3-point swing. So much that you can think of there that Green Bay was right there. Unfortunately, does not bounce their way. But ultimately, it was an exciting weekend. Again, another year of Green Bay being at the forefront and the face of the IFL. BJ, I know you've been going to games a long time too, and I said this weekend. If you would have told me going to games, the stretch where you'd be winning 2-3 games a year, if you'd have told me that this is a possibility a decade later, I wouldn't believe you. That this has been a phenomenal turnaround over the last 3 years to really be the class of the indoor football league and be that consistent team at the top a year in and year out.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned, I don't think I would have believed you. I was talking to my dad about the same thing. It's like if you had told me we had basically 3 MVPs come out of Green Bay in 3 years, making back-to-back championships, coming within inches of one of them, even a close game for the other one. Like, I don't know if I would have believed you because we hadn't even won a playoff game at that point. Heck, we hadn't even been to a playoff game for 7 years. So I want to feel optimistic because we've had 3 straight great years, but it always feels to me like, dang, when is it going to hit that we're just not right back there? And it kind of sucks.
Sports curse, BJ, is
exactly.
That
yep. That's exactly what it is.
But it is tough. You see it. Teams fall short, but eventually it will be some time in the sun. But ultimately, I think there's been plenty of time in the sun for Green Bay this season. There was exciting weekend, a lot of recognition. Green Bay Franchise of the Year for the 3rd time in 4 years. Also, I will share on here, it's been on social media that I was able to be recognized the Young Broadcaster of the Year. Really thankful for everyone at the Indoor Football League, Jared Whitman for the nomination, Todd Tryon, Brent Stover, everyone that's been able to put together that the new broadcast deal this season. Of course, the Trenkler family and Ryan Hobson for allowing me to get into this, again, just not too long ago, but there's a lot of gratitude from the weekend, and cool to see it round out. The other thing was the league awards of the players of the season. Andrew Mevis, Special Teams Player of the Year, and MVP. The wrong was righted. Liam Thompson did take home Most Valuable Player for the 2026 IFL season. As you alluded to, BJ, it kind of felt like through the second half of the season there shouldn't have been any doubt in that award.
No, Liam played fantastic. He threw no interceptions in the second half of the season. His last game throwing a pick versus Tulsa on the road, he had 3, doubled his interception total at that point, and then hadn't thrown one since. Barely had any turnovers. I think you could make the argument that TJ and Nate Davis probably could have deserved it, but I think Liam just played fantastic. And like you said, he had multiple MVP moments where it's just like, yeah, that's the guy you want to see as the face of the league right there, because he just looked absolutely incredible this season. And hopefully he comes back to Green Bay this year or this upcoming season. But if not, good luck wherever he goes. Whoever team gets him is going to have an excellent player.
That is the nature of it, and we'll address it. This is a 1-year league. It's leagues of teams of 1-year contracts, and it's very similar in sports. At the end of the year, it's very hard to imagine that all of these players and all these guys will be in the same room at the same time again, representing the same organization. But it did really feel like there was a sense of something special with this group and the bond that they built. Again, the word that's been spoken ad nauseum, friendship. You really felt it with this group, and they had that chemistry from day one. Will be really exciting to see how the offseason shakes out, and what guys do end up coming back. Of course, it is incredibly hard to get everyone back. I think the last time that almost happened was 2020.
2020, we had
early. Yeah, 2 or 3 guys that didn't come back for that team. And then, of course, there's more teams in the league now, and we'll get to that as well. There's more opportunities to go out there. There's more opportunities to move up from where you are in the IFL. So we will, of course, be covering that as we go into the offseason. But the new teams that were announced this week, of course, 2 of them we already knew. We knew about Athens. We knew about Texas. And now the 2 teams that were announced this weekend, the Arkansas Diamonds coming over from another league. And you look at that team and what they've been able to put forth on the field. There's some familiar names to the IFL. You have Meatball Carter, you have Aaron Dilworth, you have Coach Bones, who's the former Pirates offensive coordinator. There is some IFL pedigree as part of that organization, and excited to see the new market come in the state of Arkansas. And another team in the state of Georgia, Savannah, they've started to roll out their announcements. Clay Harrell will be their head coach, who is the defensive coordinator in Jacksonville for the last few years, heading up one of the best units in the IFL. BJ, what were your thoughts of those announcements that came out over the weekend?
I mean, we knew about most of them. I think Arkansas was the biggest news. I don't think there was any rumors about them jumping over online or anything. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust. Right now, the league they're in is 7-on-7 versus 8-on-8. They don't have kicking. Now they're going to have to do kicking. So it'll be interesting to see the transition. We've seen other teams transition from that league before and have relative success. So we'll see how Arkansas does. Savannah and Athens are going to be a great establishment to the Orlando, Jacksonville sort of division you got going on there. Makes travel a lot easier for those teams. I know a lot of Jacksonville fans have been complaining about certain teams being able to drive and certain teams not. So now they'll have their own little corner of the.
It's going to be a low 4-team division there, a 4-team division up in the Midwest. Arkansas, it does sound that Tulsa is going to be moving west. I will be curious to see what the final alignment will look like. But as you look at it on the map, you got the 4 teams in a cluster that's all within a tank of gas, as has been alluded to in the Southeast. You have the 4 teams in the Midwest. Then you kind of have the middle part of the country that, again, the Texas is so big, the plains there. And, everything's still kind of relatively close, but then obviously you have the cluster of teams out west. But Jared Widman did say, and he did say with Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton that they might not be slowing down. So again, there's going to be some conversations of news, and again, we will talk about that all this off season as they start to roll out. Let's close things out here with some recap on the season. I know we kind of talked about the midway point, favorite players, things like that. Now let's look at the memories. BJ, your favorite game from this season? I think the conference championship, I think we just said before we went on, I think that one kind of needs to be number one. But outside of that, what would you say your top 3 are? You can include the conference championship in that one if you want.
Yeah, I'll throw the conference championship in there, as much as that probably took 5 years off my life. That was a great game. Being able to see us win the conference championship at home. I was at the Quad City game last year, but it's different at home.
Yeah.
I think probably the Tulsa road game was a blast. Got to go with a bunch of friends, flew down. We had the cup the following day, so that was a really fun trip. And obviously good solid win. And honestly, I think the Vegas game at the beginning of the year was such a different experience. Obviously not having any fans in the seats, being able to experience it from basically the bench, something I haven't really done before. We had a good year. A lot of great memories, but it's a little bit short.
Of course. But of course, there are the 15 wins now. That is a new franchise record, up from 14 in 2024. So a couple to pick from. So you had said Tulsa, week 1 against Vegas, and of course the conference championship. I'm also biased. I think those are, you mentioned Tulsa. That was a game you were at. I'll throw a game that I was at as well that you didn't have boots on the ground for, was the road Orlando game. That was a game that felt like one of those that they answered the call, and there were a lot of those that they had to push back, and they get that play at the end. If it was forced, unforced, whatever have you, they were able to make the play. And even throughout
win.
They made so many great plays throughout that one as well. I think of the MVP moment, that 4th and goal conversion that Liam Thompson had to Drayshawn Hudson. I think of the 3rd down throw that he had off his back foot. Who would have thought we'd see that a couple more times this season as well? But ultimately, that one was one that was a really fun 4th of July weekend. I think that I look at all 3 Fishers wins. That's a team that you obviously had the Hail Mary loss to last year, and it's tough to beat a team like that 3 times. And literally, if they win one of those games, Fishers is in the postseason this year. If you want to look at it that way, Green Bay, I think there was an opportunity there for the Fishers to get a good win for themselves, and Green Bay answered the door every time with 3 wins. And that last one, obviously special 83-point performance from that offense, leading them to another scoring title. Those are ones that I keep an eye on, and I think about those for the rest of the year as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Fishers ones, all 3 of them really were just great wins. That the one on the road, I was concerned for most of that game, like, okay, this is not going to go our way. We had a couple hoodwinks happen towards the middle of the game, and that really turned the tide. But honestly, as I was talking to Fisher fans on the way out, I'd be like, I said to them, I'm like, when you guys come to town, I would not be surprised if Fisher gets a solid win here. And then we put up 83.
That was still at the point of the year that's the start of their losing streak, though. And again, you think about how fickle an IFL season can be and how unforgiving it can be at times. You have to look at these wins that Green Bay have gotten over the years, and a little bit of gratitude. I would say that, and the fact that there have been so many of them that they've come out on the right side of for a few years. And of course, the one you're waiting on now is the IFL National Championship, but still so many great memories from this team, from the games that they put forth, and another year of going the distance, of being one of the first games to the last games, to games with no fans, to games with 5,500 to 6,000 in the building, creating some great environments. The Blizzard were there through thick and thin. BJ, any final thoughts on this team as we wrap up the 2026 season and start to look forward to 27?
I just wish everyone who played for us good luck wherever they go. If they do come back, if they don't, you got fans here in Green Bay. Most of our fans will root for you no matter where you play, because they just got attached to you, right? And it's fun seeing them play in other teams, but hopefully they get to come back and hopefully finish the job next year.
I think we would be remiss. I do want to take some time to mention, you mentioned if you're in Green Bay, your family, whether you're here for 3 weeks or 3 years, you will have a home in Green Bay. Congratulations to our friends with the Rattlers, Max Myler, Jake Parks, Kimo Clark, for their championship. I know that obviously it means a lot for them to finish out on top, especially with the way it ended last year. And when you knew that matchup was going to happen, you knew that someone was going to be devastated. Unfortunately for Blizzard fans, it was Green Bay this year, but there are 3 individuals that were able to bounce back from the loss last year and get a win. So congratulations to them and the Arizona Rattlers for their 8th championship this weekend in Tucson. BJ, again, we'll wrap things up. This has been a fun year. This has been a fun year of doing this. We've come out with this pretty much almost every week to this point. Yeah. So this has been a pretty fun ride to get to talk about some IFL football every single week. Of course, thank you to Creative Edge for helping us put together every week. This was a conversation that kind of started through the winter, and an opportunity to, again, add some football content to your feeds in the 2026 season. And I hope that you appreciated it throughout the way. BJ, we'll wrap things up once more, as we always do. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Cold Front Podcast. And we'll wrap up as we always do. Go Blitz.